Emily, welcome back to the Create podcast. We slightly rebranded since you've been on the show last, but I'm so excited to have you back. Welcome.
This is my favorite podcast to be on and to listen to. So thank you for having me.
I loved your podcast too, and I'm so excited. I'm like leaning in.
I'm
We're
like,
getting
"Kick
into
off."
it. I'm so excited to have you back. And we chatted a little bit about your story and your background last time. Last time you were on the show, you also shared some really amazing tips about eco-friendly and more health-conscious art practices. So if anyone didn't tune into that, I'm going to link it in the blog post so you can catch up to that. But today, I want to talk a little bit about where you're at now, almost a year later, I believe. It's crazy how fast time
Yeah.
flies. But I would love to hear any updates. What are you currently thinking about? What's inspiring you? What's lighting you up?
I feel like the past year has been like an incubation year. I feel like if we can go back to like a little seed metaphor, a little plant metaphor for a minute, I think a lot of us, myself definitely included, go through this phase of like sowing a seed and then watching it grow and then like reaping the fruits. And when you get to a certain like years in business, you've been doing it for a minute, you have some things that always stay in that like fruitful place because you know how to like nurture them and prune them and keep them going and help them like thrive and do all the things. But then you might have some things like in the background or under the radar a little bit that are more in that seed phase or that like baby, like maybe it's in a little greenhouse phase. I feel like this past year has been a lot of greenhouse energy, which is actually so much fun as someone that loves creating new things, inventing new things, but also wants to be sustainable. I'm too old to like, mess around and find out anymore. So I want that sustainability, but I also want to feel like fresh and like we can be alive and vibrant. So I've been really like, this is a bit more philosophical, but I've been really devoting myself to that practice of letting myself feel free in my creative work again. And that has come out in all kinds of different ways, which is really interesting. In the background, writing a book,
Cool.
playing in my creative work, like letting myself just be like, I'm going to try this, I'm going to do this. And a lot of those things never get seen by anyone because they don't work. And that's okay. Trying new things in my business. There's some things coming out this year that I'm like, this is going to be so fun. And they're new for me, which, is like when you create something and you settle into your creative practice, you tend to like continue an idea for a while and like see where it goes and develop it and develop it and develop it, which is how you become a master at your creative work and in your business, which we love. But that new spark, like starting a new baby thing, it's just very, very fun. So that's been happening in the background. I'm very excited about it. I feel like this year has been a lot of like, can these new ideas develop roots? And it's okay if they can't. That's fine. That's part of the process. But if they can, do I have the capacity to nurture them and to decide like where my energy should go and where it shouldn't go? And, if we can evolve from there, then let's do it.
So much beauty in that. And as I'm planting roses right now, hoping that they survive. We're getting a cold snap next week. So I'm like, okay, but that's the thing. You can't have the roses if you don't take a chance, or the vegetables or the flowers. And that's such a beautiful metaphor. Thank you for sharing that. I'm excited about your book. Is this something that's going to be available to the public or is this a personal project?
I mean, I hope so.
I can't wait to
It's
hear
in the
more.
phase of getting the book pitch ready for like the pitching process. So to be determined.
That's so exciting. Is it already written?
The full book is not written, but it's in that like heavy outline phase. Like I know every page, but I
Mm.
haven't written it. A lot of it's also visual. It's going to be a very visual book. So, yeah, the labor of that is to come, but that feels like such fun to me. Like that is going to be play and like, ooh, I'm just excited about it.
That's so exciting. Thank you for sharing that. And I agree. There is this balance of maintaining our businesses, of course, because they sustain us and our career in a way, the things that we're known for to people, whether it's the type of work we make or the mentorship that we offer, but then allowing ourselves space to play and to keep things interesting. And that's kind of where I'm at this year as well, like keeping the things going that are feeding me in a way, and then giving myself a little bit extra wiggle room to make a mess and not know what is going on and just feel in that messy middle that sort of feels very freshman year of college energy where I'm like, what?
I know what I'm doing, but I'm trying something new. And is it going to work? And am I changing majors in a year? Maybe. You don't know yet.
Yeah, and that's okay too. I love that. And I think it's just all about not living with regrets as an artist too, because I know for me personally, I'll quickly share is, I'm known for these colorful interiors and these kind of moody, expressive works, which I still love. And I think I'll always make them. It's one of those like things that I always just see something I want to paint in this subject matter. But then there's another part of me that's drawn to kind of more mystical, experimental, maybe even more subconscious type of work. And I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but I want to explore it because every time I see another artist doing it or I see something in nature, it's like this spark, but it's like trusting yourself because you don't yet know how you can execute it. What
I
skills do I
know.
need to learn to make it happen? Like
Like
how?
going back to that beginner phase, especially as you've mastered something in your creative work, going back to that phase where you're like, oh, this is bad. Oh, this is bad. Like you have to go through that. I mean, if you look back at my creative work from even 10 years ago, I'm like, that is not good. What was I doing? But that was part of the process. But it's almost harder to go back to that phase if you have developed some kind of mastery in your creative practice, like being willing to fail and to create work that's genuinely not good because you're learning something new. That's so vulnerable and almost like there's bravery in both parts of that. Like beginning at all is brave, but then being willing to begin again, I think is extremely brave. And I commend you for that because
Thank you.
I relate.
Yeah, there must be some form of like self torture that I'm into. But at the same time, for me, it was like this feeling that I would really be miserable. I was starting to get cranky last year. I knew that if I kept pushing it aside and waiting, I knew that I wouldn't be happy. The way that it happened for me is every time I'd have a show, I'd be so grateful. Like my conscious mind said, like, this is amazing. My younger self is like, yeah, we're doing it. But like something deep inside of me just felt like there's something more. Like I don't feel fully satisfied. And it wasn't that I wasn't grateful, obviously, because I know many artists would kill for some of the things that I've experienced, but I just like I knew it, there was something deeper. And it's scary because now I'm used to like, oh, I have an exhibition coming up. Like when I look ahead at my year, it's full of things already set out for me, but those things are from other people. And now I get to decide like what does that look like? And I know you run your business really very much on your own terms. I'm sure you have some client work that you have to deliver, but like that's why you really inspire me because now I'm just like, okay, like I'm in charge. I get to decide like what I create, what I do. If I want to have a show, I can create my own show, of course. But yeah, it's a scary place, but it's very brave too. I feel like it makes us better artists.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like we are kind of on parallel paths, but slightly different paths in that way. Because the client work that I take, even I would say for the majority of the client work I take, either they're coming to me wanting something that I've already created, like maybe a licensing project, or even I would say a commission might fall into this category, or it might be something where I am clearly setting the parameters of I will only create this. And if you want it, then it's a yes. But
Mm,
I'm going to be creating this. And that I would say like the commissions that I create fall into that category where the commissioner gets the option to select the size, the colors, the proportions, the energy. But I'm like, it will be a landscape. It will be focused on the sky. It will be very abstract. It will be like, the things that I create.
mm,
So I'm like, even in that, I feel like I've set up a lot of parameters where I'm like, I'm in charge here. You can come into it and you can ask me for things and I'll say yes if I want to. But that does feel very much within my control. And that is different than working with external, maybe art directors or galleries or curators in that way, where you have that collaboration, which is honestly, I kind of maybe I want that in the future. I don't know. It's just a different way of creating, and both are good. But
yeah,
we've got to pick the ones that work for us.
absolutely. And I love what you said about setting those parameters because the mistakes I made a lot of times when working both with commission clients as well as with galleries is just agreeing to something that it would be kind of contradicting what I do. And that's when the frustration, that's when the all the memes are made about people crying during commissions. And I think it's so important. And the right partners, even a gallery, I work with some amazing galleries too. And shout out to Liz Lidget. Like she's so
Yeah.
organized and
So
everything. She has her whole like calendar mapped out for the year. So she makes it so easy. And someone who respects your style and just says, Bubba, like, here is the dates, make whatever you make. And, this is the general theme. That's perfect because then you have that creative freedom with some parameters. But I think that's so amazing. Can you give us, how did you get started with your first few commissions? Or do you have any tips for attracting, like, how does someone reach out to you and get started with working with you in this way?
Well, for commissions in particular, I had made a bit of a small, a tiny little name for myself amongst some collectors with my landscapes. And then I came to a point where actually the first commissions that I had, they asked me, they just came to me and they're like, I love this, but I want it much bigger. And I was like, oh, I don't know how to do that at that point. I'm like, I don't know how to, that's big. Oh no. So that was my first experience with commissions. So just saying yes to things. And I'm like, let's figure it out together. And they got a steal. Oh my gosh. They got it for maybe like 5% of what I charge now. So they're thankful. They're good.
We all
Um,
learn.
no, right? And like pricing, you have to learn the hard way oftentimes that like adult life is expensive and this is my way of funding my adult life. Okay, I have to be serious about this and charge what I'm worth and what my life is worth, you know? But after that, after those first kind of like random happen chance commissions, I decided to open up commissions in the same way that I launch artwork. So typically when I launch artwork is the phrase that I use. I create a body of work that's maybe 10 to 25 pieces, depending on my capacity and the size and things like that. And then I'll sell that body of work by making it a big deal, talking about it, bringing people into my website, creating a beautiful sales page, making it like, I made all these pieces, come sit with them and read the poetry and listen to the music and look at the art and, you know, experience it in a digital capacity. I decided that I would kind of launch commissions the same way by opening up commission spots at the beginning, or I usually do it in the spring. I say usually, I've done this 3 times in my entire career because the first few times that I did it, I really took on way too much, way too much. I was like, if I want consistency, I want guaranteed income. I have at that point 2 kids. I can't like not have money. So, how do I do this as a painter? Because income variables can be unsettling, you know, like when you don't know how much you're going to make a month, that can feel a little scary. So, commissions were my answer to that at the beginning. So, I took on 4 commissions a month, which
That's a lot.
I don't paint that fast. Like, I'm not like a splatter paint on the wall painter where I'm like, it's magic, it's intuitive, it's expressive. No shade to that kind of art. I actually love that art. I don't do that though. It takes me, you know, a minimum of 8 hours to create a painting, a maximum of like maybe 40 for a large one. So that was a lot for me to like commit to. And I did 1 large and 3 small paintings a month. If I got sick, we were all screwed. Like I couldn't take time off. I think that's the thing that I didn't build in is a bit of humanity. I thought I was a robot because I'm a high functioning creative. I can produce a lot of work, but not that much. That was too much. So I took several years off. Last spring, I was like, I want to paint really big, but I want a guaranteed buyer. So I opened up just 3 commission spots and I said that they could only be large. So actually, the piece behind me is the smallest one that I created. The other two
This
were like much, much bigger.
is that like 30 by 40?
That one is 36 by 48.
Oh, yeah, it's
But the other
beautiful.
ones were like 50 by 70 in that range. Um, so that was very, very fun to have that guaranteed buyer for a large piece of artwork when I only sell online. Because I do think that one of the benefits of working with a gallery is you have placement for large work. And online sales for larger work is totally possible. Absolutely. I've sold a lot of large pieces online. But it is, you have that disconnect of a screen that you have to really work with. So I really wanted that like guaranteed sale. I wanted to be able to express myself. So I did that. It was so fun. I will do it again this year and I can't wait.
It's amazing. Thank you for sharing. And
Yeah.
same with me. I think it's you and I share this is like when you fall in love with your own work, I always say like the sale begins way before the sale. It's when you are falling in love with your process, with the way that your work feels to you. That's when it draws the people in. And when we try to skip that part, everything falls apart for me anyway.
Oh my gosh, which is why I think it's hard to sell work that's been sitting around in your studio for a
Oh,
bit because the like romance, the like limerence that you feel with that piece of artwork, you have to really generate that again to be like, I love this piece. You should definitely buy it. Cause I'm like an old thing. I have to really work through that and be
mm,
like, oh no, this piece is so beautiful. I really, really love it. And I want you to like, you know,
that's
pay
such a
attention
good
to it.
point. I didn't even think of that. That's why everyone's like, I have all this inventory. Did you have any success stories personally or with your clients where someone was able to sell something that was sitting around for a few years? Because I sell older work all the time and it's always like a really fun surprise. It's like, oh,
Oh my gosh.
sometimes it
Yeah.
happens like through the gallery and they'll just email me like, someone bought this big thing from 5 years ago. And I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
amazing. But do you have any like intentional moments where this happened and you're like, okay, I want to like let go some of this inventory that I have?
I will say the sales that kind of just stumble in like that, they feel the best.
They are so good.
Like, I kind of expect a sale from a release of artwork that I'm like, it's current. Come check it out. I'm bringing people in like that. Like, I expect these pieces to sell, and so it doesn't feel quite as like what. But
Mm.
when someone stumbles into it, it feels like they're stumbling, and they're not. They're walking in intentionally. But I'm like,
They know what they're doing.
where did you come from? Those sales, they genuinely feel like they are maybe 1,000 times more like delight in my brain, more like dopamine in my brain than when I expect the sale. So that's always fun. But as far as like selling older work, I actually just created a lesson about this in the collective last, no, on Monday, this week. I was working through a cold. I'm like, get it together, Emily, record the lesson. And I did. And at the first part of the lesson, there's like 20 tips in the whole lesson, but the first three I think are the most important. And it part of it is like coming back to why you love this piece, like bring it back into the light for you first and foremost. And that might mean maybe you need to rephotograph it or like style it a different way when you're photographing it, or even just like take a fresh photo of it. And it can just be like a full crop if it's a painting. But look at the aesthetics and like make sure the aesthetics are being communicated properly to your collector, your prospective collector. Look at the details because people often purchase from a couple of different frames of mind. They purchase emotionally. So are you communicating the like, the resonance? Why does this matter to you? Why does it matter to them? Is there some kind of like that thin line of like connection between you and the art and the buyer? And then they purchase aesthetically. So like the colors, they like the subject matter, etc. And then they purchase practically. And that practical piece, I think, is like an easy thing to check off the list. Are you communicating the textures, the size, the details? Is it framed? Is it like, how does the back look? Like, you can just be like, logically, is this a safe and smart decision, especially for an online sale? Because you don't really know what you're getting online. You're not like, you can't see how thick the canvas is or like how it's being displayed. There's just barriers to entry for an online sale. So those three tips are really, really easy. There are a lot more that, we can get into. But I think those three are like really easy to
Yeah.
check off. Like one, two, three. Once you fall in love with it, then do all three.
Yeah, I love that. And revisiting the other day, I remembered that some of the paintings that I have available, they're very large and they're very specific. So they're going to require a specific customer. But I saw that they were published in like Flow magazine. And, this was like a big milestone for me because it was on my vision board for 6 years
Oh,
before it happened. And I loved Flow back when they still had the US subscription. Like I would always get it. And it was such a big manifestation for me. And I just looked at it again. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, I love this, Flow
yay.
magazine, like this painting. Like, why am I not
Yes, exactly.
celebrating it? So it's just like little things. I love those tips. Thank you so much for sharing that. I
And
appreciate
also,
that.
maybe it'd be helpful to think about like, there are some pieces that live in my mind that were created by artists back in like 2019. And I can still picture them and I love them. So maybe it'd be helpful to think like someone might be thinking that about your work and they don't know when you created it. Also, there's this silly notion. I think this is just because we go from creative, like limerence flow to sale as
Mm,
artists. But the buyer doesn't have that experience. They're only experiencing what they're seeing. And they're like, for them, it's a fresh limerence. It's a fresh, like, falling in love process. My voice is so scratchy. I sound like a raspy, sultry ASMR
oh,
speaker
I'm
right
here
now.
for it. Maybe we can do like some ASMR, just whisper the episode. No, you sound fine. I was just where you were, so I totally get it. But no, I appreciate that so much. Yeah, and art doesn't expire. Our images are eternal. There's nothing that can make it go out of date or not
Exactly. I
cool
think that's what I
anymore.
was going to say before I was like, my voice. When you walk into an art museum, those pieces were created, I don't even like 50, 100, 1,000. No, not really, but a long time ago. And I walk up to them and cry because for me, it's that first encounter or the first time I've seen the piece in person, and your buyers are having the same experience. So you can kind
Yes.
of rest in that.
I love that so much. And I love the way that you treat everything in your art business as with this romanticized aesthetic energy. And for anyone who's not following Emily on Instagram, please do, because I adore your feed. And actually, I'm using it as an example in my membership today because we're talking about storytelling. And the way that you do storytelling isn't always like a story. Sometimes you just show the process and the visuals and the feeling behind what you're doing. And it's so, so beautiful. I was even stalking what kind of camera you're using. So I'm like, how is she getting such gorgeous shots?
You have a nice camera, I will say.
Ooh, do you have can you share the insider secret with us?
I feel like it should be right here, but it's not. So
I also loved your threads the other month where you talked about the bills, the artist's like expenses.
I actually had to take that down. I can tell, okay, first of all, the camera, and then I'll tell that story.
Yes.
The camera is a Fuji TX5, but it might be XT5. I always get the letters wrong. So that's the camera. I'm obsessed with it. It is worth every penny. That plus a tripod is all I ever need. I used to hire photographers, I would say like once a quarter, and
Yeah,
now
that's what I do now.
I'm doing it myself, and it's so
Does
fun.
it have like a good selfie mode too that you could like do
It has
yourself?
an incredible app. Like, it's so nice. You just use your phone and you can control everything about the camera from your phone. So
Ooh.
I can be like in motion doing my thing painting and be like, click,
Oh,
done.
that's so good.
It's
Oh
so
my
nice.
God.
It's so nice.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look into this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But the thread that you're talking about was a joke.
Yes, it was hilarious because I'm like,
People
well,
did
actually,
not get it. They did not get it. A massive fight broke out in the comments,
no.
and I had to delete it because I was like, you guys are getting rude. Not to, well, kind of to me, but really, it was just really became very
Oh,
strange. I'm
I'm
like,
so
this is how
sorry.
the wrong side of the internet got here somehow. But the thread was about like, it was absurd.
It
And
was
I was like,
funny to
people
me
think
because
that
I
I
spent a
thought
lot
it
of
was
money.
funny too. I thought it was really funny. It was like people think that making, I think I said 20 grand a month is a lot. And then I listed out all the things that artists spend money on. And I'm like, a paintbrush for $200 because, every now and then, Adobe is 30 grand a month. It's not really, but I just exaggerated all the prices to some extent. And people are like, you're not buying a paintbrush every month that costs 200, are you? And I'm like,
You
no,
don't know that?
of course I'm not. Like, come on. Then people were like, for someone that creates mediocre landscapes, you make way too much money. And I'm like, okay, you need to leave. Goodbye.
Oh, that's awful. I'm so sorry. I've had posts on Instagram that went to the wrong side of the internet, and it was like another sarcastic post, and it was like, what is it? Alternative artist residencies. It was like jail, psychiatric
Wait,
ward,
I saw that one. That was
motherhood,
so
and
cute.
people got so upset because obviously all the list was like sarcastic, but they're like, motherhood is not easy. I'm like, we know, neither is jail
That's
or the
the point.
psychiatric
That's
ward.
the point.
Oh, the internet can make I actually just wrote a Substack, like, some of the hardest days as an artist and entrepreneur is when I get on the wrong side of the internet because it just makes me wanna, like, strangle someone, and of course, I just had to walk away, but it's frustrating because it's like everything gets out of context, everyone has their 2 cents, and everyone is all of a sudden a critic when they don't communicate with you if you post something normal or valuable, but these viral moments, they bring out the worst in people.
Oh my gosh. But also, it makes me realize that that happens to me so rarely that I feel like it's such a testament to when you nurture an audience and they understand what you're doing in the world. Obviously, if I were to say something on Hinge, hold me accountable, please, always. But I feel like the rapport that I have with my audience lets me show a bit of my actual personality a little bit. Every now and then, it doesn't work, as we saw. But I would say 99% of the time, I can bring my true colors in some essence to my online spaces and know that it's going to land fairly well, which is like, I just think that's honestly what a privilege. Like, that's
It
so
is.
sweet.
What a blessing for sure. And I
Yeah.
agree. And it's usually just when the posts go viral, they reach an audience that doesn't yet know you. So they just take everything out of context and they don't know the whole
They're
story. So
grumpy.
but that's
They're
the infuriating part.
grumpy.
Oh, but I'm so glad we don't deal with that often.
Me too.
And here's the thing, like I'm not a controversial person either, so I'm so uncomfortable when that stuff happens because I'm like, I'm just a girl painting like bright things and hang out with my dog in my shed. What are you talking about? But yes, thank you for sharing that. All right, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. We have so much more I want to ask you. I want to be mindful of your time, but thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to look into that camera.
Yeah,
Side note.
definitely, definitely.
One thing you shared this week on your Instagram is that burnout is not a requirement. And I love that so much. Actually, it's something I've been revisiting in my life, like certain health symptoms I've been dealing with that I took for granted. And I thought, okay, for the rest of my life, I just have to suffer, or I have to constantly be overloaded with activities, calls, clients, blah, 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 shows. And I had a pause last year where I'm like, no, like, is this really the rite of passage, or am I just tolerating this? Can you talk about that? How do you navigate preventing burnout? If you have any tips for that, and what does like an average week look like for you?
Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely. Burnout. I feel like it is helpful to maybe understand your capacity. And for some of us, that means maybe we'll overextend and tip into some form of burnout. But I think the burnout that I really want to caution artists against, and to kind of just be like, this is not a rite of passage. You do not have to burn out to be successful as a creative. That is not a mark of heroism at all. That's a mark of not like listening to yourself and not honoring yourself and bypassing boundaries. And that's not romantic to me at all. As someone that has experienced it, feel I experienced really, really debilitating burnout in 2021 and no one knew. That's the funny thing about being, like I said, kind of like a high functioning creative and a firstborn daughter and an overachiever and all the things. Like I check all the boxes. I was in such horrendous burnout that I was having panic attacks almost weekly. I wasn't able to eat. It was just, it was horrible. It was just like my nervous system was so crumbled, and a lot of things were happening, not just my creative work, not just, the amount that I was giving, but that was a large part of it. So, in that, I learned that my boundaries are very important. My need for understanding where my creative work sits within this capitalist framework is important because I think oftentimes we enter a business and we're told a lot of business things that work for a lot of businesses. But for creative people, creativity is running on a different wavelength. It's running on a different frequency than the capitalist machine that is designed for productivity and output and supply and demand. Like that isn't the structure that we're trying to work within. But because we live in a capitalist world, we have to like make money and do the things and check all the boxes. So how do we like work these two systems in harmony? That's I think the thing that a lot of creatives spend a lot of time circling around and coming, in and out of, which leads to burnout oftentimes. So being aware of that, I think, is the most important thing. I tell myself progress is quiet and slow.
Mhm.
Inside of Making It Work, we have this mantra that we talk about every single week, which is 1% a day. That's all we're trying to accomplish. It's all we're trying to improve. Just 1%. Easy. I can do that.
Yes.
And by the end of a year, you're like incredible if you do that. So progress is quiet and slow. Understanding that capitalism and creativity are not compatible. They don't cohabitate very well. You can operate within capitalism. I teach an entire course on how you can run a business that is profitable, but the creative self has to be sacred and has to be cherished and cared for. On that note, profitability comes in a lot of different ways. So I think profitability is, of course, do I have enough money to like buy my groceries and pay for my house and go on a trip and save up for retirement? And I have 3 kids that are going to college. Like I need a lot of profitability. But I think profitability comes in a lot of different ways. It comes in feeling rewarded by your work. It comes in doing things that feel like there's some gratitude that you feel towards the work. And I think profitability, it's not just money, is what I'm trying to say. For
Yeah.
example, in February, January, I don't know what month it was. It was recently. I created a painting and donated all the proceeds to an anti-ice organization. That felt so gratifying. I felt profitable in that, even though I didn't make any money. It all went away. But that felt like, yes, that was rewarding in a way. So I think that's very important to find the reward in your work. And then as an artist, my third tip that I offer myself and you, because you're doing it, you're living in this, but it's giving yourself space to play. And we talked about this at the beginning, but like keeping those high producing things like fruitful, that's awesome. And then under there, can you just like try new things, make new things, or take a nap, or like go on a trip, or begin making sourdough, or like whatever
Yeah,
makes you feel happy, like do that. Like live pleasurefully if you can.
I
You
love
can,
that.
by the way.
Yes, you can. I think that's the biggest hurdle, especially for people who may have some trauma or are like only child, firstborn daughter, high achiever, type A. It's hard to
Mhm.
imagine that your whole day is in a list of boxes to check or see how you, and especially with all the, you and I talked about this privately, but being in the business circle, sometimes it is like maximize everything you have, maximize profitable, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like you said, art does not live in that world at all. And then when we try to make every moment we're painting a reel and like everything's documented, we turn into a robot computer and then our soul is crying and we're wondering why we're not happy, even though, like, let's say me, I'm self-employed. I had moments where I'm like, I would rather get a job at this point because I feel like there's surveillance on me with these phones and these apps and all these algorithms, and like stepping away and just doing stuff for no reason at all is so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, no, I think when you feel that, or when I feel that, especially when it becomes like the machine that I'm trying to sell my gentle, tender work within begins to kind of infiltrate my creative process, I think that's when finding rewards for your work that may be monetary. Money can be an amazing inspiration. That can be, especially when you need it. You
Yeah.
need it. And if you don't have it, it feels scary. I've absolutely been there. I'm buying a house right now, so I feel it again where I'm like, oh, it's so expensive.
It is, but it's going to be so
Things like
amazing.
that. Yeah, like when you feel that need, that can be a really good inspiration. But also find like reward and play go hand in hand for artists. So find rewards in your creative work, and that might mean just like literally throwing your phone in a lockbox and being like, you do not control me. My emails do not control me. Close everything down and just be like, what does my creative self want? How can I nourish myself? How can I just release some of that pressure? Like, quite literally, release. It's almost like when you don't have sex for a long time and you're like, it's the exact same energy in a creative person's body. So you have to release some of that tension and be like, I just need to flow and play and have like my little romance time in the studio.
Yes. That's it. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. It's so real. And yeah, we definitely get caught into this spiral and this like, I read a book recently called Reality Transurfing by Vadim Zalan, and he talks about these pendulums where like you feed this thing and it keeps taking more and more and it feeds off your energy and it feeds off our anxiety and fear and like, oh, we're gonna miss out if we don't show up and we aren't constantly on. So thank you so much for that permission slip of your time. I'm probably just going to have you back on the podcast very soon
Let's
because
do
there's
it.
a whole like 2 hours that of questions
Yeah,
that
I'm
I
like, this
have
is
for
gonna be
you.
so much.
Oh, it's always a joy to have you. Emily, I know you have an amazing opportunity for artists coming up, which I am a proud just supporter of. I love what you're doing. Tell us what is happening this spring. What is going on
Oh,
with your
you
program?
know. Well, every spring, oh my gosh, this is like genuinely one of the sweetest moments of my year is leading this cohort of artists. Cohort is such a strange word. We need a different word. Community of artists. There we go. A community of artists who want to see their creative work take a bit more space in the world, have more profitability financially and also in other ways, have more impact. They want to see their businesses mature or diversify in new ways. Like maybe they want to begin licensing or wholesaling or working with brands or doing commissions, like all kinds of things, working with galleries. So they want to see some maturity in their business. And every year in the spring, we walk together through a 9-week masterclass called Making Art Work. It's my baby. I love it. It's the 6th year, the 7th year we've been running this. I think it's the 7th year, which
So
is wild.
inspiring. So cool.
Absolutely amazing. So it's been refined and perfected and, just kind of reworked and updated, of course, because a lot of things change over 7 years. It's a lot of evolution, a lot of like different practices have to be implemented now. And I think the thing that's special about it is it comes from a mindset of like profitable, sustainable, healthy businesses.
Yeah.
But I am an artist first and foremost, and I've learned how to grow a business. I've had a 7-figure business. I didn't like that. And now it's six figures, happily,
That's
like
the next episode I would love to talk to you about, like, if you're open to sharing it, because
scaling
this, like,
down intentionally. Mhm.
it was
We
like,
don't
when you
we don't
shared
burn
that,
out.
it literally, and I'm not gonna, I know it's like we're going over time, but when
Okay.
you shared that online, like, it made me feel so validated because it just, like I said, not that there's anything wrong with 7 figures if it works for you, but I think it's pushed on us, and sometimes it's enough to have 6, a healthy 6, and
Absolutely.
profitable. So thank you for
And you
being
might
so
find
open.
that you have more pleasure, you have more freedom, you have more joy, you have more capacity when your business isn't running your life. Again, back to 2021, that's what was happening. I was making over $1,000,000. Like that is I'm a painter. Wild.
It's amazing,
But
but also at a
the
cost, right?
toll
Yeah,
it took. And maybe, if I were to like go back to that like Gay Hendricks idea of upper limiting, that may have been me reaching my upper limit, which is valid. But I feel very content running a business that now feels like I can employ 3 people. I run a beautiful studio. I am no longer working 80 hours a week. I work about 20 hours a week. I get to be the person that I want to be in the world. And like, I feel like that's worth it. So,
beautiful.
anyways, I had to get up there to find out, like, I actually don't want this at all. I want to just live in this much more sustainable space for me. And maybe not everyone's like that, but for me, it felt like a necessary lesson to learn. So, yeah,
Mm,
making it work really does like circle around all those ideas of what do you want? What do you have capacity for? And I think a lot of what we do is help artists not put that limit on themselves. Like the idea of the starving artist is not one that we adhere to. The idea that artists have like a box to put themselves in, like you can only create paintings and sell the paintings. Like, yeah, you can do that, but you can also like do all kinds of other things that are quite profitable if you want to. So
I
we
love
talk about all
that.
that inside of the
I
course.
so 100% support this and agree with it. So thank you for doing this work in your
You're
own
an
beautiful
incredible
way.
example of this too, for sure.
Thank you. And that's why I align with you so much. And another example is too, we're like on the outside, you and I are doing similar things, but we're doing them in such different ways with slightly different communities. And that's why it's so important to not limit yourself. There is room for so much of what we do and share. Well, I'm so excited. So for our listeners, I'm going to link the upcoming, you have a challenge, right? Share your work first. Is that
Yes,
what's
share
coming
the
up?
word. So that happens, it begins on March 24th and it's 4 days. Every day we'll talk about an idea that will help you understand how to share your work better. And sharing your work leads to sales. It's kind of like a prerequisite for making artwork in some essence. So share the work begins with understanding the value of your work, understanding your values, understanding where your work belongs in the market, and then we'll tip into understanding who your collector is and how you can talk to them, and then what your artist brand looks like, and then your career from there.
Amazing. So beautiful. Emily, thank you for your time. And thank you. I know you're still fighting your cold, but it was amazing and you sounded great. So that's all that matters. Thank you for being on the show. For everyone listening, make sure to check out the show notes and sign up for Emily's Share Your Work Challenge as well as her amazing course. I'm so excited. And I'm sure I'll see you back on the podcast soon.
It was lovely being here. I love talking with you, even with the cold.